So this video is going to cover the scene management as well as the scene class available in my engine. So the first thing we have here is the scene manager. It's a singleton. Um, it is a singleton. It has an attorney, and it has a few um, managerial things to it. So the only things that it does are the process, draw, and update, or really just the draw and update, um, and it has the capability to store and change the current scene. So we have here a current scene and a next scene, um, and uh, accessors for those two scenes, and a submit scene change with the new scene commands, which initiates the command pattern for changing that scene. Scene change looks like um, once the command has filtered its way through the command broker, um, we go to this set next scene, which just calls the scene end on the current scene, deletes it, and calls the initialize on the what was the next scene but is now the current scene. So we have cleanup of the old scene and then setup of the new scene. And we can see that that is indeed functional. I have this scene happening here with dynamic objects. It's great. And then with the push of a button, we're in a new scene. Lots of new scenes. And they all work. And it's great. As far as the pass-through goes, it's literally just you have your draw and your update here. The scene manager receives calls from the to each update and draw, and those are passed down to the current scene. So if we look in the CPP, update is just get current scene update, draw is just get current scene draw. So that is this whole scene manager, and then the scene manager is cleaned up. During the scene manager delete, where is it? Here. We delete the current scene and the instance, and that is called by the engine during its cleanup, during its unload. So there it is, scene manager delete. In the scene, which is a little more hefty, we have this one is the first one that's not a singleton. This is an object meant to be. This is a class meant to be inherited from. Users are able to make their own scenes. So we have the beginning of a lot of documentation and examples. So here we have these two functions up here, the initialize and the scene end. We saw initialize is called when the scene is created during a scene change, and scene end is called during scene cleanup, and we saw those both in the scene manager. If we jump in, all of the things that we have here, where's our update? It's up here. Here's the draw and update that are called from the scene manager, as well as a few camera things for managing the current camera, a bunch of registrations, the scene change commands that go back up to the scene manager, two collision commands, collidable group, but we'll get into that during collisions, pointers for the multitons that are specific to each scene, and a few scene changey things. So if we go into the CPP, let's look at the update. The order that I have for the update is the registration broker, which will the first thing that happens during the update and clears up all of the new registrations that need to happen. We then do the alarm, the keyboard event manager, and the collision manager. And all three of these set up for the update manager, which is the last thing to run, which does which adjusts to all three of these things happening, and then sets what I would consider to be like the final interactions between the objects. So I have the update manager last in the update loop. In the draw loop, we have the draw manager, which processes 3D elements, the visualizer, which processes a few more 3D elements, and then we have the 2D manager, or the draw manager processing the 2D elements, which allows them to fit on the screen, or to be drawn to the screen properly. We have in the destructor a cleanup, and then all of these registrations go to they have their necessary information, they go to their necessary managers. Let's see. Pass through registration, yes. Draw, we did that. Update, we did that. Sets required collision tests, so that was what those giant well-documented functions were. Collision self and collision pair, which just go to the collision manager. Essentially another pass-through for registration. But for types, not for specific objects, which is what these are all for. We have the get set for the camera, which are here, and that just goes to, again, the camera manager deals with that. Really just pass throughs for that. Collision test, scene camera, destructor, and then that destructor is called again by the scene manager during the cleanup, because it does the scene end and then it deletes the scene, so that's when the destructor is called. And then this is a hint of all the documentation that's to come, but we'll see this all in the Doxygen video. That is this video, and I'll see you in the next one.